How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Anxiety in Real Time. This is our question and answer portion of the show.
Yes.
Where we take the questions from the crowd and we see them at the same time you do. So we will give our best answer. And honestly, in this conversation, the words "I don't know" are totally acceptable. But we'll answer whatever questions you have.
That alone is exciting to me. That I don't know is an acceptable answer in a time like this, especially with everything going on in the world.
All right, well, I guess without further ado, let's head out to the first question. So it reads, in today's climate, how do you go about rising above the insults when we live in such an aggressive, argumentative society?
That's a great question. I think this happens a lot, specifically on social media. Like every time I log on to social media, it's rife with people sniping at each other. Like it goes past the idea of a conversation. Like there are some people on there trying to have a conversation, but for the most part, I see a lot more people just trying to like almost hurl firebombs at the other side rather than actually having a dialogue and a conversation. So for me, one of the ways that I've kind of moved past that is to mute social media for certain times of the day and limit my intake of it. Like obviously it's important to be in those spaces and to speak in those spaces and to use the platforms that we've created on social media to speak the right message and the right language. But there are times when you just have to kind of turn off for a little bit, when you really start to feel your blood pressure start to boil a little bit, and that whole turn the other cheek thing is like, I'll turn the other cheek. I'll show you the other cheek. You're like, no, that's not what I need to do. I need to take a moment. Not that cheek.
Oh, okay.
Right. Not that one.
Yeah.
We keep that one covered.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I saw an image not too long ago. It was a set of matches, and you saw the fire just spreading down the set of matches, and one match was pulled back a little bit so it didn't ignite, and it just the caption on it was something like the power of stepping away or the power of stepping back. So I think just time, right? If you're ready to hit send on a text, don't hit send. If you're ready to come back at somebody verbally, maybe just say, I need a few minutes to process this. So I think just giving yourself time, whether that's 5 minutes or 5 hours of not saying the first thing, not typing the first thing, not sending the first thing that pops into your mind, but allowing that to be a response instead of a reaction. So we're in a society that everybody wants to react, and let's respond instead of react.
Yeah, I'd like to add on top of that. Like, if you look at the wording of this question, it has an expectation that whatever the climate is, I have to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And I think like we need to start expecting not better of ourselves, as in like we're higher than people who are aggressive, but better of ourselves in. I guess I'll put it this way. Like, this is a classic analogy. If I walk into my house and it's 78 degrees, because my wife and I try to save money when we leave, we turn the AC off. If I walk in and it's 78, I don't ask myself, okay, well, in this climate, how do I adjust to it?
Yeah.
And then just take an ice bath.
Yeah.
I go to the thermostat and I turn it down to 72.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right? And so like the expectation isn't that you have to adjust to whatever the climate is. The expectation should be that you have the ability to change the climate.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Right? And so
it's
are you a thermometer and just repeating what the energy around you is, or are you a thermostat and changing the energy just because you can?
Yeah.
I think if I'm good, let's jump to this next question here. So the next question is this: why should I love those who only hurt me? Am I supposed to turn the other cheek if I'm being abused?
Great question.
Yeah,
it's a great question.
Absolutely. I would say that there is a difference between forgiveness and allowing yourself to be continually being placed in that same relationship or that same. So it is up to me to release. And when I say forgiveness, what you're doing really is you're releasing your right to take revenge and believing that God is just and that He's got your back. But also, like, I don't need to keep putting myself in that same situation.
Right. I heard it said this way one time. People talk all the time about forgiving and forgetting.
Right.
But sometimes you don't need to forget. Like, you don't need to have amnesia in some situations. Like, if you're in a situation of abuse, physical, mental, emotional, any of those things, you don't necessarily have to walk back into that forgetting that you've been abused. You can step out of that and still offer forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's really good.
So like if I'm in a neighborhood, right, and there is somebody that comes up as a sex offender, like it's my job as a follower of Jesus to forgive that person. Right. But like just being really real, I'm not going to put my kids playing
He's
out.
not babysitting.
Those are two different things.
Right.
I can forgive, but remove myself from a situation where I allow my emotions or physical self or whatever to be hurt. Again, I want to say that like Jesus is not condoning staying in an abusive relationship or anything like that.
What about the first part of that question? Why should I love those who only hurt me? What does that look like?
Would this be that where we're allowed to? I'll answer. I don't know.
Yeah, no. Anytime we should just get buttons, red buttons.
Yeah.
We hit it, and it's just I don't know. I will say, if I can just start speaking before I start thinking, I will
That's
say
always a good idea.
Like that's my MO. That's my MO. I would say there's a nuance of that question that bears the image of Christ, right? That like so what the Bible teaches us is that when we are not in relationship with God, we are opposed to God, like we are his enemy. And so he feels pain, right? And so God bears that sort of a weight that he loved us when we were still hurting him. And so if that's suffering, I guess we could call that suffering. Like if Justin just can't stand me, right? But I love him and I continue to love him even though he hurts me. There's a blessing in being able to walk in the same image that Jesus walked in and walk in the same image that God walked in.
And I think too, I think it also goes back to our definition of love a little bit too. Like this is not necessarily a romantic expression of love where I have to be close to someone and give them hugs and
I do want to give you hugs though.
Well, you
Justin.
can give me hugs
I want
anytime
to clarify
once
that.
the pandemic's over.
Right.
But like, should I love those is not necessarily a romantic type of love, but wishing the best for them even in the worst circumstances and having that type of love.
And I would add too, like, is part of the hurt that you're somehow expecting that to be reciprocated. Like
that's
I'm
a really
loving
important distinction.
And I'm expecting you to do the same. Yeah. Maybe part of that is, look, I'm going to bless, I'm going to love, I'm going to wish you well, I'm going to do good for you, but I know the reality is probably I'm not going to get anything back. And this sounds weird to say, but like in a sense, you lower your expectations.
That's good. That's very good. Let's jump to the next one then. How do I not become a doormat to those who hurt me? How do I not become a doormat to those who hurt me?
I think this kind of goes back to the previous question. Like, there's a difference between forgiveness and distance. Like, you can forgive without being in proximity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Like it's not putting yourself back into those same situations to relive those cycles of abuse and hurt over and over again. That it is okay. Like if the doormat's in front of the door and the doormat's tired of being stepped on, it's okay for the doormat to move somewhere else that it doesn't get stepped on.
Yeah. Absolutely. There are some situations where people are going to treat you mean and nasty and horrible no matter what. There's another sense in many ways that you also teach people how to treat you. And hey, I love you. That's not okay for you to speak to me that way. We're not gonna. The way that you carry yourself and rise above that, you're teaching people. You're walking with dignity and teaching people really. There's a lot of people and understanding people's backgrounds. Some people have never seen a functional relationship in their lives, so they need to be taught what does that look like.
And if I can speak to my introverts in the room, like I'm the kind of person that if I go to McDonald's and they hand me a bag full of garbage, I'll say thank you. Just because like the awkwardness of like
that's because you went to
looking
McDonald's.
another person in the eyes and having to correct them, I can't like. So my introverts in the room, like there is a freedom in like forcing yourself to be assertive at points.
Yeah,
not that you force
like,
yourself to be a jerk all of the time, but there is a freedom in saying like, oh, like I can confront someone and not have them think that I'm an awful person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I would just encourage those who are more introverted, like really like honestly just force yourself to become more assertive and that will start to become more natural. So
It's good.
Absolutely, that's real good. What else we got with our time? What is Wu-Tang? And specifically,
What
is that the
Wu-Tang?
orange drink from the 90s?
I don't know what the orange drink from the 90s is. Although I feel like I should.
What do you mean? When were you born?
In 1996. So
Tang?
No, never.
No?
Never
Anybody
Tang.
Am I the only one?
Okay, so Tang
So
is a
everybody-
version of Sunny D
Anybody know
that's
Tang?
better.
Tang is better.
Tang
than
is a
Sunny
better
D.
Sunny D.
Sunny D is like concentrate.
Right.
1 gallon of Sunny D should actually make about 12 gallons of normal drink. So Tang was invented when in NASA, right? So it was they
Like
invented,
for astronauts, like
yeah,
while they're in space?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a powdered orange drink that they gave to astronauts.
Sounds awful.
Along with Velcro. Velcro was invented by NASA for astronauts because the whole wait list.
Wu-Tang is a lot more exciting.
Okay.
I don't know how you can get more exciting
Wu-Tang
than orange juice in
is for
space.
the children, okay? And that is
Okay.
a quote from ODB himself. Wu-Tang is a rap collective from the 90s.
yes.
There we go.
They just made some really great music in
Yeah.
a great period of hip-hop, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Next question we have up, unless we want to, debate a little bit more about Wu-Tang.
I am ready to go.
Are you ready to go? Well, we'll save that for later. How about this?
Okay,
One?
cool.
What are the rewards for flipping the script? What are the rewards for flipping the script?
Yeah, so I would say that this sounds selfish, but in some ways it's about me. So when I flip the script, when somebody comes at me with hate and I love, when somebody comes at me with disrespect and I respect, when somebody comes at me with anger and I flip it and give peace, I get free. Yeah. Like I walk out of there not with this sense of I'm better than you, but I walk out of there without the chains of because they're just offering me the chains of their hate, the chains of their anger.
Right.
So if I don't flip the script, I'm just accepting those chains that end up weighing me down, messing up the rest of my day or night or week or whatever. So my reward is I walk free.
Yeah.
So everyone, again, thanks so much for joining us at Studio 110 today. We're investigating questions about faith and spirituality. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If this content has been helpful to you in any way, we want to help to get the word out so that it can be helpful to other people as well.